Creating new dwellings within property, a fantastic way of adding value. Welcome back to MPP's Building Blocks. Today, let's jump right in. Alright, so creating new dwellings within a property is a fantastic strategy of adding value to property. Now, adding value to property, to be honest, is how I built my portfolio. You know, I'm a big fan of sort of buying as cheap as possible, below market value, direct to vendor, and all the rest of it. But the reality, if you're wanting to have a long lasting career in the property industry, I think you've got to get your head around that you need to add value, whether that's adding value to the marketplace or adding value to the property. Okay, so for the example today, we're just going to look at a £300,000 house. We'll just pop that up there. Obviously, it's going to be a house with a bit of scale. You might find these sort of big old terrace properties. You know, it's potential. You sort of find it within a big semi-detached property or a detached property. So it's obviously got to be of a reasonable scale, but this £300,000 house we're going to take. Now, there is a planning consent issue here, which we're going to deal with in another video. But in this example, we're going to get planning consent to turn this one big established property into 3 apartments. Now, getting this done in the right area can really add value to the property. So we're going to deep dive into the conversion costs and things to look out for in a little bit. But for right now, we're going to look at maybe a £60,000 renovation cost per property. So it's £180,000 into the renovation. Yes, there's stamp duty, cost of money, and all those sorts of things. We're trying to keep this simple for you right now. So we're going to spend £180,000 converting this old building into 3 brand new dwellings. When this is all done, we're now going to create a new value for the whole building. We could chop it up and value the properties singly, or somebody might value the whole thing as a collective. Either way, we're going to look at it and go, each one of these apartments is going to be valued at around £200,000 now, giving us a gross development value of £600,000. So we've created, through this adding value concept of creating new dwellings within one, we've actually created £120,000 worth of equity value. Now, you might decide to sell off these apartments individually, therefore realising the £120,000. You might decide to keep the building as a one and look towards a valuer to refinance the building and keep it and rent it out. Therefore, you may not have to put too much money into the building because you could take a 75% mortgage on that. Caveat, some lenders will probably only look at that and give you a 65 or 70% mortgage on the block. If you want to maximise the lending possible, then you will do a freehold leasehold option. That again is another video, but basically you'll take a buy-to-let mortgage on each apartment, pulling out 75% of the value of each one. You won't leave a lot of money in the deal. Okay, so like we said, creating new dwellings is an enormous subject area, and unfortunately this video you're probably going to end up with more questions than answers, but such is life. What I do want to give you is sort of 4 things that you really need to understand, look out for, because this is a complex strategy and it's not something you should just jump into without the right support and team around you. Okay, number 1, this is an area specific strategy. So this doesn't work everywhere. You can't just pick any old big property and think, oh, I could probably fit 3 in there and just go for it. You need to get the right mix of your area. It needs to be high enough value to create that value in the property. It needs to be low enough value so that you can get into it and get through planning. It's quite a detailed thing, so you can't just pick any old building. Make sure that you're taking the right advice around developing this strategy in the right area. Okay, number 2. There is a full planning caveat to this strategy. What I mean by that is you will need a full planning application to turn a residential property into 3 residential properties. Regardless of where you are, Article 4, this, that or the other, there's no permitted development rights in turning 1 residential property into 3, so you will need to go through a full planning application. Okay, number 3. You will need a detailed spec of drawing here. So you can get through planning with relatively simple drawings, but when it's time to build, when it's time to convert this building into new dwellings, you will need detailed architect's drawing, because the spec is going to be very different to anything that you've done before if you've been working in a single dwelling. Okay, number 4, make sure your building regs is absolutely on point. Make sure you have a relevant build team to deliver this sort of thing, because the thermal insulation needed, the sound, the acoustic, the fire, the regs are completely different. You've now got one dwelling on top of another, and the fire separation, the thermal, the acoustic, everything, the separation between dwellings is absolutely massive compared to what you're used to. So please make sure you surround yourself with a relevant team. Okay, cool. That is a snapshot into creating new dwellings in probably the simplest strategy that I could think of. There are many, many ways of creating new dwellings, and it's a fantastic value add if you can get your head around it. This was a quick video. We've left you with questions. We've left you things to check off when you're thinking about this strategy. Hopefully we've added some value to you today. If we have, please hit the subscribe button. We'll see you soon.